Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Survival Game News weekly roundup for the week of April 25 to May 1st, 2025. We have quite a few exciting and interesting updates on a number of titles today, as well as kind of like a new game announcement, or at the very least, a new trailer for a game that is slowly starting to kind of make itself known amongst players. I'm very excited to kind of show that off. But first, let's just kind of get right into it. So, on April 28th, Sengoku Dynasty revealed their Bushido update, their upcoming Bushido update, and with it, they are bringing raids to Sengoku Dynasty. So, bandits will be coming to everybody's villages. They're going to be attacking villagers. They're going to be trying to steal your resources, and you need to defeat them to protect your village. So, obviously, we're going to need to get those security needs taken care of. We're going to need to start building some guard towers. Basically get ready because the bandits are coming. So for those who have been feeling like maybe the game's a little stale, a little boring once you have basically kind of taken over all the regions, this might add a little bit more excitement to your gameplay. Now certain villagers anyway, they can be recruited to help fight alongside you. Most of them, however, will run off and try to protect themselves, hide away. And if they make it, they make it. And if they don't, well, the bandits might kill them. So definitely, I would say start preparing now for this update. Get weapons, get people trained up, get ready for a fight. On April 28th as well, V-Rising also released their Invaders of Oakvale update, 1.1 update. So players can now explore a once pristine wilds of Oakvale, which is now beset by an invading force of raiders, which are infesting the land with this dark magic to harvest in service of a very terrible ritual. Megara, the Serpent Queen, who's a powerful witch. She commands her legion of venom blades to scour, corrupt, and bleed the land of a precious mystical resource called venom sap. So this update brings a new region for us to explore, a new biome. It's going to have new bosses and enemies. There's 3 new weapons, 7 new spells for us to learn. We'll be able to reach forge weapons with like blood mixing and stuff like that. Pretty interested to see what that's all about. We can craft from treasury now, which is amazing. I always love being able to just craft right from chests, especially with this game where each room has a place and needs to be in a certain kind of you need to build it in a certain kind of way, basically. So being able to craft from treasury, love that. And there's obviously new castle decor as well. So big update from V-Rising. I'll be getting into this pretty soon myself. Can't wait to see what's waiting for me in Oakvale. On April 30th, Dune Awakening had a kind of like a lowdown, if you will, of how their base building works in the game. They had a little video where they were talking about it, and some of the highlights, basically, if those who are curious about, building your base on this terrible, scary planet of Arrakis. So basically, bases have to be built on solid land because, in the open desert, those sandworms out there, they will destroy it. So you have to build it on solid land, and you start by placing this thing called like a subfief console, where you can manage things like your base name, permissions. You can view important information like the shield status, the power consumption of your base, and capacity as well. The water that you have in your base, storage, storm alerts, because there are going to be storms, and a number of other kind of information as well. And when you place your subfief console, you basically claim the land around it. You'll be able to see an outline of the area in which you can build, and the area around your starter subfief console, that cannot be expanded, but you can learn to build an advanced version and place it in other regions of the basin, which you can then you can expand your land and claim both horizontally and vertically by placing these things called staking units. So you can kind of build like a pretty decently sized base. Now you can't build forever, and your land claim can't overlap with the bases of other players or NPCs or be too close to Imperial testing stations or trade posts. But as long as, you should have a pretty good amount of space to kind of build the base of your dreams, if you will. And you can also have a number of bases. You can have a total of 3 sub-fief consoles and a maximum number of 2 starter ones. So kind of like as you advance, the idea is that like your starter bases just won't be of use to you anymore. They'll just be like too small. They just won't really work out. So you can abandon those and just focus on the advanced ones, of which you can have 3. So you could have potentially could probably like build it all, close to each other if you want like a really massive base, but it's probably a better idea to kind of scatter them about the map, just so that you have, different areas for you to go to and to store things and, however you want to do it. But basically they're basically telling you, hey, you can have more than one base if you would like. Now your base is protected by a shield, but without it, it will eventually kind of crumble and return to the sands. And to keep that shield running, you're going to need to produce more power than you consume. And you're also, at least with your advanced bases, they're going to draw the attention of that good old emperor out there. And he will begin to demand taxes to keep your shield running. So if you don't pay those taxes, the shield is going to go down. When the shield goes down, your base is subject to the storms and all that. It can be destroyed. Now, they basically do this because they want to make sure that bases aren't exactly permanent. It's their version of base decay, basically. And the reason they're doing that is because they don't want the number of bases to keep on growing until there's like no space for new ones. So basically, they think that this system is going to be lenient enough to let players, play at their own pace, but, still make room for new bases if players are, just not going to be playing all the time. If they decided to move on, their base isn't going to be there like 5 years later, taking up space. So we'll have to see how the balance is for that, but that makes sense to me, especially since Dune Awakening is supposed to be like an MMO, right? So eventually, you will be able to choose between House Atreides or House Harkonnen, and who you decide to kind of side with, I guess, they will give you like this architectural style, and you can build with those aesthetics in mind, and they are kind of locked from what I understand. So if you go with Atreides, you can build with their style, but you won't be able to build with Harkonnen. That's what I understand anyway. And they are planning to expand the number of architectural styles. There'll be more that are available in the future. Again, I don't know if those will be locked or not. They weren't 100% clear on that, so we'll have to see on that one. But there are going to be, other styles out there for other factions in the Dune universe, new building pieces and decorations as well. Now, they have this really cool thing called the Solido replicator, which basically allows you to copy an entire base into a blueprint, and then you can store that kind of like as an item in your inventory. And then when you find a new place where you want to build your new base, you can basically pull out your Solido replicator, do a projection from that of your base, and the base that you saved is going to be like right there. And then you can just be like, boom, this is where I want it now. And that blueprint will basically just be there. You still have to obviously provide materials and stuff, so it's not going to be like, poof, it's ready to go. But the blueprint of it is right there, ready for you to start filling in with resources. So if you build like this really fancy base, but you decide, you know what, I need to go to somewhere else, I don't really like this location, you can basically just save the blueprint of that beautiful base and put it elsewhere, which is awesome. It's kind of something that Once Human does. And it's a little janky on Once Human, so I'm kind of hoping that Dune Awakening has refined that process, but it's very nice. I find that very efficient, and it just makes sense. So blueprints themselves, just like any other item, can be given to an ally or even sold on the exchange. So if you are somebody who could build amazing bases, you can actually sell that blueprint on the exchange, and people can buy it from you. And that's pretty cool. That's pretty fun. So some really cool news about base building from Dune Awakening. On April 25th, Crosswind, also funny enough, had some information about base building, and they kind of laid out the guiding stars, if you will, that they are following to make a base building mechanic that it's kind of like a one-size-fits-all, but also satisfies everyone. So, for example, they definitely want it to be simple. They want it to be approachable, basically, for newcomers or people who are really not that interested in base building. They just kind of want to, build their their little square house and go on the adventure. Or those who are maybe new to survival games, like they wanted to make it as easy, basically as approachable as possible. Very intuitive and designed to basically ease you in gently, so that you can do as much or do as little as you want with it. They wanted to make it also very flexible, the building. This is basically for those who love, making it very efficient. You can get fine-grained tools with base building. They'll have precise angle rotation, for example, optional snapping, Z-axis nudging, and a in-menu building preview showing you, obviously, the exact piece before placing it. All great things to have, I would say. And they really wanted to make it, like I said, flexible, and they had a little joke here. They were like, our unofficial benchmark is if we're able to build a passable Millennium Falcon. If we can, then we're good. If we can't, then we need to loosen the rules a little bit, which, you know what? That's a great benchmark. Everybody should do that. And then they wanted to make sure that the bases that you can build are beautiful. Like for the builders who, really want to invest in that, who really like building, cool buildings, they have tools available for them for, so again, like that snapping that can be turned off. There's going to be small detail pieces that can be layered freely, and decor that can also be stacked, just to bring, a little bit more life to everything. And they also brought this kind of interesting new mechanic which they call quick brush mode. And basically all you have to do is hold the left mouse button and then you sweep your cursor, and that in a smooth line, basically you're able to lay down walls, floors, and roofs in a continuous satisfying motion. Basically you're just whoop, done, which is really cool. I like that. And it's obviously they're trying to do this with performance in mind too, so they're doing a lot of stress testing to find out how many blocks players can stack before the frame rate starts to freak out. Their goal is to be able to is a lot, so that players can build really extensive and detailed bases. So they're kind of working on that, making sure that that's something that they can provide. Now, besides base building, they've also going to allow us to do very basic terraforming, which basically allows us to shape the ground and prepare terrain for builds. So you can, build up or take away, smooth, basically, so that you have a firm foundation beneath your base, basically. So it's not going to be quite as crazy as something like Enshrouded. I think it's going to be a little bit more for those who have played Asuka. I think it's going to be a little bit more like that, where you can just have some very basic terraforming to build, smooth areas for you to build on. Now, they also said that we'll be adding workbenches, kilns, and palisades to our bases, and we can place an upgrade module next to any workstation to unlock new tiers. And you can, you can just put them wherever you want if you want, or, for those who are a little bit more detailed, you could build entire rooms for that workbench, and then, pretty it up with all these upgrade modules, basically, to bring it just, furthermore to life. And they have an interesting thing. They mentioned something called comfort, it's going to be a comfort system, where you can hang something like trophies, for example, and the settlement counts that bonus to the comfort level. And they also said that comfort works the same way, where as long as you put that trophy or whatever that item is somewhere in your base, it's going to count. So you can be as willy-nilly with it as you want, or you can be very I'm going to put you above my fireplace or something. I don't know. So that's kind of interesting as well. Just the idea that there's a comfort mechanic, much like Enshrouded. So that is interesting too. Now, they did give a little caveat here that there is going to be a building integrity system. So you do have to follow the natural rules of physics. So you won't be able to make any floating towers or endless bridges stretching across the sea in this game. You do need some land. It needs to be relatively flat. So that makes sense. It's a pirate fantasy, but it's not crazy fantasy, right? So it makes sense that there's some realism here. Now, they've also are working on something that they call aesthetic merging, which is basically the system designed to make modular builds feel more natural and cohesive. So instead of those obvious seams and visual clutter between individual pieces, this tech they're working on helps kind of smooth out those transitions, so complex constructions look very unified and handcrafted rather than stacked Lego bricks. So that's kind of, I'm really curious to see how that comes out because I know exactly what they're talking about. So I'm very curious to see if they can pull that off. Now, when it comes to the safety of your base, story, they call these your base location, your personal story island, and they are private by default. So it's solo or it's invite only co-op. You're not going to have any random players like showing up unless you invite them in, basically. And then looking forward, they said they're working on other things like wanderers, who are like merchants and quest givers that could potentially be crewmates. They will occasionally arrive at your base. You'll be able to recruit them to gather materials, craft gear, support your progression. So kind of like your typical kind of settlement system, like in Medieval Dynasty. You can be like, hey, I need you to go get logs or something. It sounds like it's kind of like that thing. And they said that this is kind of like their first step towards a broader crew system that connects the people that you meet on land with the roles that they will take aboard your ship. So I'm really excited to see how that works out. I'm always happy I always love when they have NPCs who can do some of this grunt work for you, allowing you to do other things. Very nice. And it just makes the game feel a little less lonely if you're playing solo. So really cool update from Crosswind. And then finally, on April 25th, we had an official trailer released for God Save Birmingham, which is a survival game set in 14th century Birmingham with zombies. So the developers behind this game is Ocean Drive Studio, and they are planning to launch this game in early access. So as part of your standard other kind of survival games, you're going to need to eat food. Got to make sure your hunger is satisfied. There are zombies around, a lot of zombies around, so you have to kind of use the environment to escape from them. I think you can fight them as well, obviously, but is that always the safe thing to do? And then obviously you can build up kind of like a fortification just to keep them out and keep you safe. So this is going to be they say like an open world. I know like I said, they're going to be launching in early access. They did mention that only a part of the town is going to be available for players to navigate through during early access, with the plan anyway of having the full town playable by the official release, the 1.0 release. And they're also going to eventually bring in a campaign mode, so it's going to be a story and such as well for us to follow through. But early days, it's definitely just going to be like your standard survive the zombies, and all that. So it looks pretty fun, this trailer, I have to say, what I'm seeing from it. So we'll keep an eye on this and hopefully do some good old guides and some good old coverage on that when it releases. But that is the end there of this week of survival game news. So if you have something jumped out at you, do let me know in the comments. I'm pretty excited about this God Save Birmingham. It looks pretty interesting, and I'm really liking what I'm hearing about the base building from both Dune Awakening and Crosswind. So I will see you guys next week for another survival game news weekly roundup. Till then, keep surviving and keep thriving.